four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're three wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he did look and a drift to show off.
Ben Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
And the drivers will head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to round 3 of the Chaz Draycott Media Formula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, also sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. We're here for the third round of the season at a very, very amazing circuit, a real staple on Formula 1's calendar that has been around for a long, long time. Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya in the heart of Spain. It's going to be a great, great night of racing, a real tricky one for the drivers, and you'll all be happy to know that we are on the historic layout of this circuit this evening that doesn't include that god-awful final chicane. My name is Chaz Draycott, and I'm alongside Ed May in the commentary box once again for this evening. Ed, we've had a great start to the season with 2 very exciting races. This one is surely going to be just another belter.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Chaz, and it's great to be here for the third round of the Formula 1 World Championship, obviously sponsored by F1 Countdown. Obviously, we've got SRM on board as well, and Abruzzi Racewear. Great to have so much support for this series, not just from our partners, but also from everyone that's been watching along for the first couple of rounds. It's been great, hasn't it, Chaz, to see everyone getting together, the drivers, everyone watching and supporting them. It's been wonderful, and I'm sure that we're going to be in for an absolute belter around here tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're going to have a real tight one. We've got a tight championship on our hands as well, actually. If we look at the championship standings, Jake Cranstone leads the way on 28 points after taking that emphatic victory for McLaren. The first ever 1-2 finish in the Formula One World Championship at Interlagos. Cam Dance reigning champion in second place ahead of Pete Harrod and Craig Vrolik, who are tied on 18 points. Then we've got Ben Hoffman on 13 points, and then 3 drivers tied: Mike Murphy, Tom Minot and Kevin Zemstra. It's really close between all of these guys. We also have a very strict and close teams championship in the middle as well, because we've got McLaren Mercedes at the top. They're about 14 points clear now after getting a perfect score at Interlagos ahead of Williams, Mechachrome, and then Jordan Mugen Honda in third. But look at that. Arrows Yamaha, Sauber Petronas, Benetton Playlife and Ferrari all separated by next to nothing. 1 point separating the 4 teams. Then we have Stuart Ford on 7 points, and none of the other teams yet have scored. But it's Jake Cranstone that leads the way so far in the championship, Ed, and to be fair, coming into tonight, he's got quite a few points to prove here, hasn't he? Not just in terms of the numbers, but just in terms of upholding that pace and that capability.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is going to be a pivotal moment in the championship for, well, the main fight against the absentee that isn't out on track yet. Obviously, he does this quite late, but Cam Dance, who was finished quite strongly in third place behind the 2 McLaren Mercedes. Just wait to see if he's actually in the session. He is in the session at the moment. He's just doing a few laps to get bedded in. He likes to do this, doesn't he, Chaz? Arrive late in the session and put a few times in. I guess he does a lot of his practice before the sessions go live and then just jumps in later on. Obviously, with the time difference, it is a little bit tricky for him sometimes, but it's great to have him out in circuit, the New Zealander. This is a real point as well, like you say, for Cranston, because last season, I think Cam Dance was the only driver to win multiple rounds, and he won a lot of them.
Yeah, he did indeed.
So it's basically down now, sorry Chaz, for Cranston to do what everyone else couldn't last season.
Yeah, definitely. He won 8 races in the end, did Cam Dance. He won the last round of the season and the first one, and I think he won the first 6 in a row as well. And the only other drivers to win races only won 1 each, like you rightly say there. So it's interesting to see whether we get anyone doing that this time round. Something else that's quite interesting is Stuart Clark in this session. Stuart's right up there on the pace at the minute. He's doing a really good job. 6th position for Stuart in the Arrows Yamaha at this moment in time. And he's really pushing on. He was top of practice a little bit earlier. We've got the 2 Saubers in the middle of the field as well, Mike Murphy and Nico Minardi. Nico, unfortunately, has the horrible statistic against him that he is the only driver so far this season to invalidate any laps during qualifying, and he's done it in both races so far. So he's just going to be hoping to save his incident points. There was quite the discussion on said incident points as well, wasn't there? Because of turn 9, which is a corner we're going to be coming up to in just a moment's time. The drivers have been told that if they want to take advantage of getting an incident point on the exit of turn 9, they can do. They can push it too far and get a slowdown penalty during the race, but if they carry on accumulating all of those points over a 27-lap race, they will basically overdo themselves. So it's there. You can get an off-track there and get away with it. But to be honest, I don't think many of them are going to push it that much. Maybe a little bit later in the race we'll see people throwing the car out there, but with the tyres going off, Ed, I don't think I'd want to risk it, to be honest. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's all about, like you say, calculating the risks, and I think I'm in the same boat as you. It's one way, obviously, you do get a bit of a benefit, but obviously with the gravel so close, you can just overcook it a touch. I think in the races, a lot of the drivers will be aiming for that, and might not take it every single lap, but in those crucial moments where they need to either get back into the slipstream of a car or to try and break the toe of the cars behind, we will see drivers elect to use that little bit of extra track. It's in the sim for a reason. It's only punishable by a 1x, not a slowdown. So you can understand the drivers being tempted to do exactly that. I think the drivers are really actually now just keeping clear of the track limits as they get their qualifying practice. And you saw Ben Chalcroft taking a nice conservative line through there, careful not to run wide and get that 1x.
Have you seen the qualifying time, the practice times, by the way? I mean, look at Kevin Zemstra's 2/10 off Jake Cranstone, yes, but then everybody else is so close together. Fitzpatrick's only 0.02 ahead of Pete Harrod, and then it's just minimal stuff all the way down the field. It's so close. Less than a second separating the top 15. We've got Tanush Agarbal in the chat asking, is this live or pre-recorded? This is live, my friend. We are live here right now from the virtual Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. I'm in my office at my house and Ed's in his room. And we are using the wonderful SDK gaming software for the overlay and the graphics and all sorts. And we're
Chaz hasn't stuck me in his basement with him with the live feed from what he sees.
No, he's not in the same room, unfortunately. We've unchained him tonight. But we've
set free.
We've got practice just coming to an end now, as there's an improvement there by Silas Craig-Vrolic, puts him third fastest in this session. And, well, the drivers now will go into one-shot qualifying, Ed, and there's a lot of pressure riding on this now, especially for this man, Nico Minardi, who is going to have to try very, very hard indeed to make sure that he doesn't invalidate this time for the first time this season.
I hated the pressure of one-shot qualifying when it came to it, Chaz. It was one of the more evil ideas for you for this championship. It's great, obviously, as a spectator, because you can see all of the real pressure starting to affect the drivers as they're going through the laps. But as you're a driver, you hate it because you know just one mistake by pushing that little bit too hard and you're out of it. And especially with the tyres needing to take those sort of few extra laps to get properly bedded in, you don't get that luxury. You've got to push on suboptimal tyres where you're more than likely not going to be making those mistakes. So, I mean, it is going to be great, but also one where the drivers probably won't be too pleased about it. But it's gone down a storm, really, hasn't it? It's something that everyone's taken to. They seem to like the pain and suffering it causes. We've got a bunch of masochists here tonight.
We absolutely do. But, you know, it's part and parcel of the championship that, you know, the drivers all cooperate to make this work. And I cannot thank them enough. You know, there's drivers in here as well. Jack Stiles and Cam Dance will be helping cooperate and coordinate this session and choreograph it all, telling people when to go out and when to sort of wait for certain cars to go past and all this. And it's a real community effort, this is, to get these sessions working. And so far, you know, it's touch wood, it's worked every single time. John Tusting, it's great to see John back on our screens, actually. He's filled the seat of Michael Jones, who was sitting in for him for the first couple of races. John's recovering from surgery after a shoulder injury. He's actually waiting to get the other shoulder done as well, so he's really pushing through it, but it's just good to have him back on the grid. He was a real stalwart of the championship last season for Minardi, and it's lovely to have him back. So honestly, we really do hope, John, that you have a wonderful evening tonight and really enjoy being back in the car, back in the series. He's been putting the practice in and making sure that it doesn't hurt too much to drive the car at full chat. We've got Gilles Gardner out there as well, who's been doing some wonderful sim racing photography work and some graphic design for us as well, making posters for the events. You'll see his logo in the top right of your screen throughout the night. But 2 at a time in these qualifying sessions now, Ed. It gets things done a lot quicker, and it means that we've always got something to look at. It's not just cars on warm-up laps.
Yeah, it is great to see all the drivers getting ready for their flying laps. This is going to be John Tusting's first flying lap of the season, getting back into the Pro Mazda. Hopefully it's just like second nature, of course, with the setup slightly changing. It's going to be interesting to see how he will fare, obviously with his recovery as well. Wishing him all the best. Nice tidy line there, again, not pushing too hard. You can see that there's a little bit of trepidation about getting onto the throttle. The exit of this corner is one that can be quite punishing for the incident limits. Then again, just all the way out wide, trying to coast it through, but again, the car's not biting as much as he's used to on this medium downforce setup. Last season it was the high, so turning in a little bit too late for a lot of the corners, just expecting the bite that isn't quite there.
You've got to be so hesitant with this car as well. It's really easy to over-rotate it. The front end is a lot wider than the rear end as well. You'll see it from certain camera angles, but the front wheels really do stick out a lot more than the rears on these things. It's very odd to look at when you see it. But to be honest, the sector times that we need to keep an eye on are the ones that you'll see at the bottom there, the purple times, basically meaning that they are the fastest out of everybody so far. They will all, of course, be doing personal bests through pretty much every sector unless they make a mistake when they come up under there. So green ones signify a personal best, and purple means that they have gone fastest out of everybody. We're going to see a lot of hesitation around the corner. We just watched Gilles Gardner go around there at turn 9, and a little bit of a wiggle there for John Tusting. But this is my favourite bit of the circuit here. There's so much commitment needed down here, Ed.
Yeah, you do just have to chuck it in again through here. The rear's got a tendency to try and break away, especially because it's not up to temperature. I'm not sure what times we'll be expecting to see the drivers pull out for qualifying, but it's a respectable time for John Tusting underneath the 1 minute 40 bracket. What will Gilles Gardner be able to muster up through the final bend now as he comes up to the line, staying to the left-hand side of the circuit for the shortest run possible, and goes slightly slower than John Tusting there with a 140.
Well, that middle sector must have been really poor from Gilles Gardner because he was purple in sectors.
Off.
Wow, sectors 1 and 2, he was purple as well, but it was only about a 10th and a 100th actually in each of those that was different. This is the next car on track, which is Gilles Gardner's teammate in the Tyrrell, which is Simon Price. The next car across the line, just in the background here, is John Roberts in the Minardi Ford. The next two cars out will be John's teammate, actually, Rob Lundgren, and Martin Kenyon in the other of the Prosts. But we'll keep our eye on Simon Price in the Tyrrell, see what he can manage yet. The other two drivers now that have their position sort of numbers, the little number blocks next to them, they have put their times in, so that's where they are ranked. They will then go into the pits and be on an in-lap. So the one we need to keep an eye on is Simon Price, and then, of course, John Roberts as well. Love the look of this Tyrrell. It was a really good-looking car in 1998, and it looks like they're really able to push the limit around there, doesn't it, Ed? They can really go wide over that curb, as long as they don't go off the outside of that red and white curb, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's great. It's just about on the limits. I haven't seen any drivers seem falling foul there, but it's that corner that we've just seen them come through where they're a lot more cautious because of the track limits. Good to see, though, John Roberts out on circuit, and we're going to be seeing him, a little bit of self-promotion, next week on Thursday, won't we, Chaz, for a little special event that we'll be having on Chaz Draycott Media.
Well, I hope you don't turn up on Thursday because it's on Tuesday.
That's it. Yep, sorry.
But yes, on the here on Chaz Draycott Media, we have the Sim Racing Magazine events Road America 400 kilometres next week, which is GT4 cars at Road America for 62 laps, and it's going to be a really good fun event, I reckon. There's going to be a lot of great drivers involved in that. 36 of them taken to the circuit. Price does a purple final sector, but he's 4/10 off the other two, so not quite the improvement there, but great commitment in that final sector by Simon Price. No purple sectors from John Roberts yet. I think he's going to be a little bit off the pace there in comparison. He actually, never mind, shut up, Chaz. He goes fastest by 1.6 tenths of a second. So John Roberts with a 39.72. Really good lap there by John. Very well done. And let's see how his teammate can get on now. Rob Lundgren in the second of these two Minardis. He's flying down the start-finish straight and hopefully on his way to a quick time. Simon Price is going to be kicking himself because he's on a purple sector 1 on his in-lap.
Yeah, exactly. That's with the tyres. They get into the rhythm a bit more, which is why we see the drivers when they're in laps actually setting purple times, which can actually throw off basically what we're looking for on the laps, because the purple laps aren't necessarily done by the fastest lap in the session. They're done by the fastest time through each of them. So as the drivers make their in laps, that can sometimes mean that we see drivers not set purple lap times yet still go to the top, like we just saw with John Roberts' efforts going provisionally onto pole position. But like I say, his teammate's going to be looking to best that and dethrone stablemate John Roberts from that top spot, and it's looking nice so far from Robbie Lundgren. Again, rear end just threatening to step out, but he contains it nicely. Martin Kenyon as well. That nicely over the curbs on the inside, taking the corner as shallow as possible to prevent the excess steering lock for upsetting the rhythm.
Oh, wrong Minardi. Sorry.
Wrong Minardi.
Kenyon's actually done a purple middle sector there, so he's right on the money. If you compare the two, Lundgren's done a 39.1 in that middle sector. Kenyon was half a second quicker in that middle sector, 38.6, and that is about half a second faster than anybody has been through there so far. So let's keep an eye on that timer when Martin Kenyon comes around. Rob Lundgren's a little bit wide of the mark there around the final corner, but manages to tidy it all up. Across the line he goes, purple final sector from him, and he does topple his teammate by 52 thousandths of a second. Here comes Martin Kenyon, another purple sector from him, and he goes 8 tenths clear. Martin Kenyon in the Prost, flying here at Catalunya. Fantastic lap indeed. Very, very well done by Martin Kenyon. Great lap. He just said in the YouTube chat he wasn't doing so well.
That's definitely a top 10 time. I'd imagine, obviously, the best time we saw in practice was around about a 37.9, but with the tyres not being able to get up to temperature as soon, you probably had to guess that it would be a low 38 that you'd see drivers being able to pull off to get onto those top times. So I think that could be one that we'll see him stay relatively high for quite a while, actually, Martin Kenyon. But we come aboard with Tim Perry, who's had a bit of a torrid and tough time of things in the opening 2 rounds, and he's going to be looking to try and get back into the rhythm of things. He had damage at Winton, and then again saw him retire from the race at Interlagos. So we'll be hoping for a rather uneventful evening where he scores some good points to get back on track.
Yeah, it seems very odd when we're going in reverse championship order to see a Ferrari this early on in the session. Tim is 14th in the championship on just 3 points. The next car behind him is Nico Minardi, who's going to be driving in the Sauber. Like I say, Nico is the only driver so far this season to invalidate both of his lap times. I think he's
Look at Martin Kenyon, purples all
I know,
around.
yeah.
He's on an in-lap.
I think Nico has unfortunately gone a lap late here by the look of it, or something's just gone out of kilter, because he's supposed to be on the same lap-ish as Tim Perry, but he's actually on an out lap right now, so we just have to wait a little bit for Nico to cross the line, but it's all good. You know, these guys do a great job at making sure that this qualifying session runs smoothly, and sometimes there is a little hiccup, but it's not much. I mean, it's usually like half a lap where a driver might have fallen behind. No purples from Tim Perry just yet, and to be honest, Martin Kenyon has shown them all how it's done on that in-lap. He really has used the tyres up very well. They do come into their own about 3 laps in, so you'll see drivers making mistakes early on. What can Tim Perry do? A 38.860 to beat. Is it soft enough to go through? No. Soft enough, smooth enough. Tim Perry 30 thousandths off, though, so Martin Kenyon in the Prost out-qualifies Tim Perry, who was, what, 5th in pre-season testing, I think it was? Let me just check that. Yeah, 4th in pre-season testing. So very well done to Martin Kenyon. He was 16th in pre-season testing. So it really shows you that was such a good lap.
Not very good round here. Not enjoying it. Hogwash. He's absolutely loving life here in Catalonia. Honestly, what is he talking about? It reminds me of some absolute muppet in season 1 of the Sim Racing Magazine channel saying, "Oh, I don't like Zandvoort. Oh, we're not going to do very well," and then put it on the pole position and win the race. That was some muppet did that. I don't know who it was. Rhyming with Schmedwood May. I don't know who that might be. Absolute muppet. But no, we can see the drivers. They can sometimes go into these rounds and not have good expectations, but sometimes that puts you at ease and you can then really push and be pleasantly surprised and not have the weight of expectation on yourself, not from other people, but just from what you expect from yourself. And a lot of the times that's when drivers can sometimes pull out their best work. And speaking of their best work, that's the best sector out of anybody by Stuart Clark through the first few corners. A very nice lap there by the Arrows that seemingly having quite a good season, the Arrows, at least in qualify before. But sometimes in the races they get tangled up together, but early doors, it's been looking quite good for them.
Yeah, it has. Stuart Clark was really high up in practice as well, so he's certainly gelling with this place and having a really good night of it. Here's Nico Minardi in the Sauber. You can see there's a little bit of pressure on his shoulders right now because of the fact that he's invalidated 2 of his laps so far this season, and they literally do just get the 1 lap, so he's taking his time, just making sure he doesn't overdo it, and I know he'll be happy to get a time on the board because both of his races so far this season have been really solid drives through the field. I think he gained 12 places at Interlagos to finish where he did. He pushed a little bit hard out the final corner. I really hope this counts for Nico. Has he done it? He has, and he goes fastest. Wow, no purple sectors, but it was just a consistent enough lap. He wasn't just quick in one sector. It was consistent enough to go fastest by just under 0.2 of a second.
Stuart Clark
what can Stuart Clark can do? He's flying, isn't he? Absolutely on a mission. Watch this. Just over a quarter of a second there for Stuart Clark, and he goes fastest in the Arrows. It was short-lived for Nico Minardi, but I tell you what, he'll be really happy to have been up there, and that lap from Martin Kenyon was still a belter, so these guys are really tumbling the times down now. Next up, it's the first of our 2 Stewarts, which we have out this season, Jack Stiles and Toby Ward. Toby, unfortunately, having a problem with his wheel shifter, so he's going to be starting from the back of the grid or from the pit lane, unfortunately, but he will be still racing with us, which is good. He's just trying to fix that in the background. We've got Jack Stiles and best mate Sam Fitzpatrick out in the circuit right now. These two together are basically responsible for Fitzstye Motorsport, which is a team a lot of you will have known from iRacing, has now become Orbit Motorsport. And we've got the 2 of them together on track, and they've got this sort of little rivalry between the 2 of them this season. Jack raced for Ferrari last season, and Sam is a newcomer to the championship off the back of Jack's entry last time out. Well, I think this Stewart looks fantastic this season. I don't know what it is about it, but I think that livery just really suits this car probably the most out of all of them. I love it.
Does look an absolute dreamboat, doesn't it? And I mean, Jack's going to be hoping that this lap goes absolutely like a dream and not a nightmare, because it's here where it can all go to pot. Chucking it into the corner, it's so easy for the car to wash out wide, but I think it gets it just about okay. If you dip your wheels further past that white line on the exit, that's when you've had it. So looked like it was just inside the confines of what's acceptable by the virtual track limits police here. Sam Fitzpatrick as well, trying to keep it nice and tidy. This corner's so lovely. As you see the drivers just chucking it in. I can't wait to see when we get the likes of Jake Cranston and Cam Dance absolutely launching it into those corners at full chat, because that's when they're probably either going to be feasting or in the famine, as they say. As Jack Styles only third fast, is not able to beat likes of Clark and Minardi. What will we be seeing here as he comes across the line now? And Fitzpatrick goes second fastest. So that lap time by Stuart Clark and the Arrows Yamaha currently sitting pretty at the top. And I said it is going to be a low 38. And that seems to be what the drivers will have to pull out to beat that lap time, because that was really clean by Stuart.
Yeah, very, very solid time indeed. Really good stuff by Stuart Clark. Great laps still by Fitzpatrick and Styles. Not much between them at all. Only about 700ths of a second, but still enough to have Nico Minardi slotted in between the pair of them. Here's Ben Chalcraft in the first of the two Jordans that we're going to see out there tonight. The gorgeous Jordan Mugen Honda from 1998. Of course, won a round of the 1998 Formula One World Championship with a 1-2 at Spa-Francorchamps in that amazing Grand Prix. We also have the other Ferrari on track right now, which is Kevin Zemstra. He's just making his way down into Turn 1. The next two cars out will be Mike Murphy and Ben Hoffman. So we'll obviously cycle back to those guys in a little bit. But let's see how Ben Chalcraft's getting on, because those first couple of corners, Ed, it was a little bit wide at points. It looked like he was pushing just a little bit too hard, maybe a bit too much lock on.
Yeah, just a touch perhaps. You've got to caress and coast the car through a lot of these corners. Too much lock, like you say, can really upset it. Nice through there, nice and stable. You can see the car responding brilliantly. Yeah, and just guiding it through. You can also almost steer the car sometimes on the throttle, which is something that really helps out the drivers. Like you say, though, you mentioned that 98 race. Wonder if we'll be getting rain in time for the counterpart in the Formula One Championship. Oh, that'll be tasty if we do.
Well, if it comes before the 28th of June, which I highly doubt, then we'll get rain at Spa, I can tell you that for free. Kevin Zemstra's done a purple sector, by the way. We'll have to keep an eye on him when he comes back around the final corner. But look at this. Ben Chalcraft now, you can see that he's really attacking those curbs on the inside. And there you go, across the line. Can he beat a 38.405? No, he's down in 7th place, 6/10 off Stuart Clark. I was expecting to see Ben a lot higher up than that. He's just behind the other Ferrari of Tim Perry. Here's Tim's teammate, Kevin Zemstra, very wide out the final corner. Purple final sector, though. And Kevin goes fastest by just under 0.2 of a second. A 38.216 is a real corker of a lap time. And that alone is going to take some beating. But look at it. We said Kenyan's time was unbelievable, and that's 6.5 tenths down now. Shows you just how good the pace is from these drivers when they need it, and how good they are at soaking up the pressure to put in these one-lap shootout qualifying times.
Oh, that was really nice on the exit there by Tom Minot. He's using all the track limit to get as much of a run down this start-finish straight as possible. But yeah, we have a bit of a case of the quali cloud there, didn't we? We saw that the track is seemingly a little bit cooler just for that time around. It's not as bright out there as it was at the start of the session, which is seemingly helping these drivers that get the benefit of going later in the session, obviously with the track evolution as well. Which is obviously why some of the drivers, if they do miss out in qualifying and have poor starts to the races, will find themselves qualifying out of the order and further back than they'd expect them to be.
I think there was Silas Craig Rollick at the side of the road there for a moment. I'm not sure he's gone out in sync or in. I think he's maybe gone out a little bit ahead of time actually, and not quite filled the right spot.
Yeah.
Mike Murphy, by the way, is the next car to go out with these guys. And wait, hang on. Yeah. Sorry, Tom Minot and Mike Murphy are the next two. Yeah, then it's Ben Hoffman after that. I think Tom has gone out late or Ben's gone out late. I can't figure it out, but we've got three of them. Oh, no, sorry. Ben has gone out at the right time. That's my bad. Sorry, I thought that it was Mike Murphy and Ben Hoffman that were next up. It's actually Tom Minot and then Mike Murphy, of course. So, yeah, it's me getting all out of sync here. Tom Minot's done 2 green times. Obviously, his personal best. But Mike Murphy,
purple.
Yeah, purple in Sector 1. He's just about to complete Sector 2 now. It's green. It's 29.32.
Decent sector as well. 28.5, I think, through that middle sector. So that's decent going. That's about on par with what we saw the likes of I think that was Nico Minardi doing, is into the pits. Tom Minot, is he invalidated? And he's going to be starting from the back of the grid. Oh dear, that was a shame because that Arrows has been looking so good around here. Both in the hands of Tom, but also for Stuart Clark.
Mike Murphy got a debut.
This could be a very nice one.
Got a debut in his first race. 76 thousandths of a second off the top spot. But fantastic effort all the same by Mike Murphy. Very well done. He's been a real star so far this season. Both of the Sauber drivers have, him and his teammate Nico Minardi. But that's a really good lap that is by Mike Murphy. He can be happy with second place for now. We do have other drivers on lap. So Celeste Craig-Vrolic on a lap. Ben Hoffman a little bit further round than him though in the gorgeous Benetton Play Life. Sam Bentham is his teammate as well, but unfortunately due to work commitments we've not had Sam out there on track at the moment. We'll be chatting to Sam afterwards and seeing whether he wants to give that spot up to the next in line in the reserve list. But there's obviously a lot that needs to go into bringing people in to make sure that they're at the right sort of pace level to go in that car and so on. So we need to work on that. It can take a week or so to make sure it's spot on, get pre-season testing sort of related things done. Yeah. So it's not just a case of jumping and throwing anyone in any car, because we don't want to then have to shuffle the entire grid down a car each, because that's a colossal pain in my arse. But still, we've got Ben Hoffman round the final corner now. Is he going to run wide? No, he's actually really tidy throughout the last corner. Is he going to be quick enough though? Is it a consistent time? It may not have any purples in it. Goes fifth fastest, 0.445 off, and look at that between Fitzpatrick, Hoffman and Minardi. That is so close. Here is Silas Craig-Vrolic. That was very wide out the final corner. It's a purple middle sector. Is he faster than Zemstra? No, he's third fastest for Craig-Vrolic. Less than a tenth though. Less than a tenth between them. Amazing stuff. But Mike Murphy's time stands in second place. Great job.
Exactly, yeah, that was a really nice lap there by the Sauber. That's seemingly maybe proving wrong the predictions from pre-season testing. Who's going to be fitting in the Sauber, because he's certainly performing well above where that car should be. It's a really good effort in this early season running for Mike Murphy in that Sauber. As we come on board now with Pete Harrod rounding out through the final corner to start the flying lap for the last of the Jordan Mugen Hondas, with last season's champion, the reigning champion, of course, Cam Dance, right there behind him as well.
Yeah, Cam now winding up for a go at this pole position time. But Pete Harrod's been really quick so far this season. He was fourth at Interlagos, watching that incredible battle in front of him. He messaged me saying, I'm not sure how I haven't done this before, because these cars are so much fun and this championship is so much fun. He really enjoyed it. That's
really nice.
But yeah, that was smooth along that curb, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's currently tied for the fastest first sector. That was done by Silas Craig-Vrolic actually on his in-lap. So this is a very nice start to the flying effort here by Pete Harrod. Cam Dance a couple of hundredths shy of Pete Harrod at the moment, so he'll be able to compare the two laps basically to one another as they're going around. Really nicely judged as well, up through the rise now through turn 9. Again, careful of the track limits. I wanted to throw it through. That was right on the edge there by Cam Dance. He's just chucking it through, and again on the exit, careful of the limits again, keeping it just within the confines, and that's a good middle sector as well. But even better by Cam Dance. Yeah. Oh my word, I think Cam might be able to have this if he can string these final few corners together this last sector. But what can Pete Harrod do to maybe get up onto the front row? If he can beat that lap time by Kevin Zemstra, that'll be very good for the race here.
Pete
just getting it right out of the final corner.
Purple final sector for Pete Harrod, and he goes top, 87 thousandths. I thought he'd invalidated it then because it took ages to update. But Pete Harrod goes fastest. Cam Dance then beats that final sector, and he's going to go to the top by 87 thousandths of a second. Exactly the same gap between first and second, and then second and third. Fantastic stuff by both of them. But look how close this is. 9/10 of a second, less than a second, covering the top 13 cars. And here comes championship leader, Interlagos race winner, Winton's second place finisher, Jake Cranstone for McLaren Mercedes, third in pre-season testing to Craig-Vrolic and Zemstra, and I know that he's going to be wound up for a good time here. He was so confident after that second round of the championship. He's going to be pushing, but listen, he's having to lift slightly there to make sure he doesn't run wide out of turn 3. The tyres aren't up to temperature by this second lap, are they, Ed? It's really been the talking point of these qualifying sessions.
They're really not. He's pushing hard again. The first sector, a 10th down on what we saw the likes of Cam Dance and Pete Harrod managing. This is also important because Cam Dance is yet to get a pole so far this season. He got the race victory at Winton starting on the front row, came third starting on the second row at Interlagos, wasn't able to get ahead of the two McLarens that were first and second in qualifying and eventually the race. What can Jake Cranston do? This middle sector is going to be key for his hopes of getting onto the front row or even pole position, and it's not a purple time. It's still decent, but maybe not enough. We'll see, though, as he rounds through these final few corners, the maximum attack moments for the driver in the Mika Hakkinen car. And this is where it all comes down to, isn't it?
He's in the Coulthard car. It's Craig Volek in the McLaren car.
Is it Coulthard?
It is. The Hakkinen car, but my bad. Round the final corner, though, still attacking those curves, which is good. Look at that. It was inch perfect on the exit. Doesn't quite touch the grass. It's a purple final sector. And Cranston goes second. Cam Dance takes pole position by 35 thousandths of a second. 87 thousandths cover the top three. And it's Dance from Cranstone, Harrod from Zemstra, Mike Murphy and Silas Craig Volek on row 3. And, well, what a qualifying session we've had there. Look at that. 9/10 of a second covering 14 cars here in Formula 1. And I tell you, that's exactly what we're in it for. But great job by Jake Cranstone still to just miss out, though. And Cam Dance is going to take his first pole position of the season, actually, because I think it was Jake that put it on pole, was it not, at the first round of the season as well? It was Silas, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was... I think the first pole of the season was Jake Cranston, and then it was Silas in Interlagos.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was Jake and then Silas, and then it's going to be Cam Dance. Yeah, my bad. I don't even know my own championship results, and we've only had 3 races, but
it's
still.
Fine. I didn't know who was in the Mika Hakkinen and who was in the Coulthard car, so there we go. We're all sorted out now.
And I've just said we've had 3 races, and we've had 2. Brilliant. Anyway. Let's have a look at how qualifying finished then, before Ed and I just go for a quick 5-minute break here on Chaz Drake Up Media to wind ourselves up for the race. Not that we really go anywhere. But we've got Cam Dance then on pole position. Jake Cranstone 35 thousandths behind him. Pete Harrod 87 thousandths behind. And it's Kevin Zemstra and Mike Murphy, Silas Craig Volek and Stuart Clark. Great time by Stuart. Really, really proud of that one, I'm sure. Sam Fitzpatrick 8th ahead of Ben Hoffman, and Nico Minardi finally gets a qualifying time on the board. He is 10th. Jack Stiles and Martin Kenyon 11th and 12th. Ahead of Tim Perry down there in 13th in the Ferrari. He's got Ben Chalcraft for company as well. The Ferrari and the Jordan not quite as high up as they would have liked there. Rob Lundgren and John Roberts, the 2 Minardis, would be on row 8. And then behind them we're going to have John Tusting, Gilles Gardner, Simon Price, Tom Minot and Toby Ward. Did not put times in. Toby having his technical issue, and Tom, the only driver in this session to invalidate a time. So it's a shame not to still have both Benettons with us for this season, Ed, but obviously we'll be hoping to see Sam Bentham back at some point in the near future. But what do you reckon we can expect from this 3rd race of the season?
Should be good fun, should be exciting as well. Obviously the front row is, I think, the one that everyone is going to be looking forward to the most, isn't it? Seeing the likes of Cam Dance right up there as well, with championship rivals, Silas Craig Volek up there, as well as Jake Cranston, the 2 McLarens fighting away. It's going to be wonderful. And then don't forget as well, those Jordans, Ben Chalcraft and Pete Harrod, with that blistering time at the end of the session. They could be well in the mix as well. We could be on for a repeat of what we saw at Interlagos, with all of those drivers grappling out in the top few positions. But it was so close in qualifying as well. I think top 7 drivers separated by about a quarter of a second.
Yeah, I was going to... Oh, okay, Silas. But, yes, we do have a belter of a race coming your way in just a few minutes' time. Ed and I are just going to take a quick break here on Chaz Drake Up Media, get a drink, get sorted, ready for the race, and we'll be back with you in a few. Don't go away, everybody. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here for the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, also sponsored by Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. We're here for the third round of the championship. The drivers are just out in warm-up at the moment, and I tell you what, we're all looking forward to this third round of the season. We've had a very exciting qualifying session, which has seen reigning champion Cam Dance take pole position from this man, Jake Cranstone, in the McLaren, the very beautiful McLaren Mercedes, with which he shares Silas Kragvrolik's duties as a McLaren driver. Silas was fastest in pre-season testing, with Kevin Zemstra second and Jake Cranstone in third. So those guys are the ones that really have to uphold the honour at the top of the order and make sure that they show why they have got those cars underneath them or around them, let's say, for the championship. But it's going to be a great race, it really is. And I know that this track is going to throw a lot of different challenges at these drivers. It's not an easy place to sort of follow cars and try and make moves on people. It's one that can really catch you out if you just try and be that little bit over exuberant. And to be honest with you, I think we've got a lot on our plates to try and keep up with that as broadcasters, haven't we, Ed? There's so much that's going to go on in the early stages. Yeah,
exactly. It is, like you say, easy just to make that little mistake, push that little bit too hard, and obviously get caught out for it. Obviously, like we say, it was a bit of a mad race at Winton at the opening round of the season, which saw several drivers pick up damage and end up retiring from the race. And there was a little bit of that at Interlagos, but again, that was a bit later on in the race with the tyres. Maybe the driver's not used to the amount that they wear in these longer style races and getting slightly caught out and picking up damage here and there. But on the whole, it was a very clean and exciting race, and I think we're going to be having pretty much the same sort of affair. Maybe a few moments there where drivers pushed that a little bit too hard, but I think on the whole, with the slightly wider circuit, the drivers are able to race that little bit harder with one another and get away with it.
Yeah, definitely. I know that we won't be going back to Winton in a hurry, that's for sure. But still, it's going to be a great night of racing this, and we really hope that you're all ready to hold on to your hats, because there's going to be a lot to look at here and a lot happening very quickly. As warm-up just comes to an end now, the drivers will complete their laps. A lot of them have already come into the pits anyway, and they will all pull over, and that'll be that. There'll be some of them practicing their starts in the pit lane as well, as we often see, or somebody drives straight into one of the pit garages. But this long run down to turn one is going to be oh so important. But it's one of those corners, isn't it, Ed? It entices you to go late on the brakes, and it's easy to overdo it.
Yeah, exactly. It's downhill all the way into the apex, which can also push drivers to brake a little bit too late and not be able to stop it in time. Here we go, Chaz. The starting grid for the third round of the Formula 1 World Championship, partnership with F1Countdown.com.
Cam Dance and Jake Cranstone lock out the front row of the grid, with Pete Harrod and Kevin Zemstra on row 2. Five manufacturers in the top 5, actually, with Mike Murphy 5th. Then it's Silas Kragvrolik, Stuart Clark, Sam Fitzpatrick, Ben Hoffman, Nico Minardi, Jack Stiles, Martin Kenyon, Tim Perry, Ben Chalcraft, Rob Lundgren, John Roberts, John Tusting, Gilles Gardner, Simon Price, Tom Minot, and then Toby Ward will line up at the back of the grid. It's going to be a very imminent start, though, because everybody except for Cam Dance is ready and on the grid, so we need to make sure that we keep our eyes on this. But if you look here, back from Jake Cranstone, the very colourful and wonderful grid here at Catalunya with all these fantastic cars on it is ready to go. And there's your gorgeous grid, everyone. Round 3 of the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com from Catalunya is underway, and it's a poor start by Hoffman, it's a poor start by Murphy, but look at Stuart Clark through the middle. He's gained 3 places already, and he's already up into 4th. It sounds like there's contact. No. Oh no, that's Martin Kenyon. Nico Minardi's off. Martin Kenyon's off. Nico Minardi, after qualifying so well compared to previous, is off and in the barrier, and his race is already done with. Massive contact there. Chalcraft is off and around as well in the Jordan. He had a poor qualifying, and he's had an even worse start to his race. Not sure if there was any contact with him. Sounds like there was someone else having a bit more contact as well there, but I've not seen anybody else drop off the road. There's a big mess in the background there. Silas Kragvrolik. Silas has got big damage to his car. One of the championship protagonists, one of the McLaren drivers. He's had an incident right at the beginning of the race. But we're going to have to look back at that in a little bit. There's drivers trying everything they can here to make moves on each other. Tom Minot, we've seen him be a bit exuberant. And it didn't need to happen, Tom. He's made a bit of
I think that was more on the 98 there. I'm not sure who that was. That was John Tusting. I think he didn't get the call that there was a car along the inside until very late into the corner.
Yeah. I was going to say, before now, Tom had made a bit of a name for himself for being a bit over-exuberant, and I think it was going to go along the same narrative. But
This
I think
is
you're
exuberant.
right. It is.
Jake Cranston up the inside. Oh, has he got it done into turn 10? It's going to be side by side all the way around and then up turn 11 and now turn 12. I think he's been able to close it off and get it done nicely. Nicely done there, Jake. Really clean move. Open and lap with the cold tyres. It's always dangerous when you're going side by side, and you've got one corner that quickly blends into the other. But now they're starting to cool it off, get into single filers. Oh, who's that?
Stuart Clark.
I tell you that, running wide. Oh dear, Stuart Clark.
Well, we had 9 manufacturers in the top 9, and we still do actually. But right now, Stuart is dropping like a stone as now Jack Styles gives Zemstra a bit of slipstream to make sure that the two of them are a bit more even by the time they get to turn 1. But it's Cam Dance that leads this race for Williams. He's got Jake Cranstone right behind him once again. Let's have a look at the big movers, because Toby Ward has gained 9 places from the start of this race. Simon Price in front of him has gained 8 spots. Tom Minot has gained 5 as well. Silas Craig Frolic is heading back out of the pit lane. He knows that as long as you've got damage, you're allowed to pit within the first 10 laps of the race. The pit window is usually the first 10 laps. I think Tusting's got damage or has had an issue. Hopefully it's not his shoulder after that contact, as Cranstone has now gone for the race lead on Cam Dance. We know that Jake does not hold back, and he's going to go for this and give it everything he absolutely can. And Cam's going to be hating the fact that for the second season running, he's got a guy called Jake trying to take the title away from him at the front of the field, because it was Jake Blackhall last season. Let's have a quick look though while we can, Ed, at that start.
Let's have a look here. Was it another issue like we saw in the opening round where drivers maybe just falling foul of the clutch that they need to get the cars started? We'll have a look at Nico Minardi's getaway. Just moving across a little bit. There's a slow starter through the middle. Oh, they just move across one another. I think Nico Minardi moves to the right. Car he's overtaken. I'm not sure who that was. That looked like it might have been. Was it Silas? Was it?
Yeah, Silas Craig Frolic it was. So Silas got a really poor getaway.
It just goes from bad to worse for him. So much wheel spin.
Look at Stuart Clark.
Good lord, that was an absolute rocket ship in the back of that car. And then just, oh, dearie me. It's again the front of the car sticking out further than the rear that might have caught him out there.
Yeah, indeed. And then Ben Chalcraft has a moment as well. He's just going to lose it in front of us there. Around he goes. Great avoidance by everyone else, but Silas's car is very broken and doesn't want to turn left.
With Martin Kenyon as well, he got caught up in all of that, and I think he was actually one of the drivers that had a great qualifying.
Yeah, Martin Kenyon qualified, I think 10th on the grid, and he was basically the car that then got collected on the right-hand side. But look at Stuart Clark, dips the clutch and gets no wheel spin at all, and thank you very much, boys, I'll take those 3 spots. But then he had that moment, unfortunately, at the end of the lap, which caused him to drop a load of places. So right now it's Cranstone, Dance, Harrod Fitzpatrick doing well as well in 4th, Styles, Zemstra, Clark, Murphy, Hoffman and Tim Perry behind them. Nico Minardi, I'm glad to say, is back out there and is racing again. We've got damage on the back of one of the Minardis there, which is John Roberts. He's got a broken rear wing as Toby Ward pushing in there with Tom Minot, who goes one way then the other. Tom again being very exciting and exuberant. As John,
that was lovely by Tom there, making 2 positions in 2 corners. Whoa, that's a very twitchy rear end on John Roberts' car. I'm not sure if that's suspension issues or something going wrong with it, but that might need a second trip to the pits, and maybe one that will see him maybe having to retire depending on how severe the damage is. He's already came into the pits once to repair damage, I think, so could be quite significant. Let's have a look here. He just gets a slide mid-corner and checks up. There isn't really a lot that I think Tom can do to back out of it, because it's just right in front of him.
I was going to say, it was actually in that moment that we flicked to them was literally when the damage happened. Look at that field streaking down to turn 1. Jake Cranstone leading it though and doing a great job of it so far, but the slipstreaming, the fuel saving and all of the mind games and shenanigans is now going to begin. But all the way back we've got a great train of them together. Mike Murphy in 8th, he's got Ben Hoffman behind in 9th, and Tim Perry has gained 3 spots from where he started. Simon Price still the biggest mover in the field though, after gaining 9 spots at the beginning up into the points. You get points all the way down to 12th place in the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship, and Simon is on his way to 2 points if he stays where he is at the moment. We've got Ben Chalcraft making his way back through. He's now overtaken Toby Ward, who we see here in 15th position. Ben in Jordan, one of the quickest guys from pre-season testing, as signified by the car that he's driving, and he's now going to try and make amends to that spin that he had at the start, and a poor qualifying as well by Ben's standards. Jake Cranstone, he's starting to disappear here, and by disappear I mean 0.6 of a second, which is a big gap in this series.
Yeah, it is, but obviously this next sector is one where we'll see it close up a little bit all the way down the start-finish straight. drivers should be able to concertina up to one another in the slipstream, and those gaps will come down. But it's great to see Jake Cranston forcing cars behind to work hard to stay with him. He is pulling away corner by corner from Cam Dance.
I need to sort that rear wing out where the West logo overlaps underneath it again. That's really poor, shoddy workmanship. That I'm amazed I've not noticed that before, actually. But still, he leads the way once again. Look at the way they sort of hook themselves onto the racing surface there. That's the whole top 10 streaking its way down the start-finish straight. Ben Hoffman's just been overtaken by Tim Perry, and now he's going to get back into the slipstream. He's not going to gain too much on him at this moment in time. We also have a battle going on further back, actually, between Gilles Gardner and Martin Kenyon. Martin's going to go around the outside at the final corner. I think Martin got away with it, you know, after that big contact at the beginning. It's just that he had that big hit, and it obviously stopped him very suddenly and had him parked at the side of the road. Silas Craig-Vrolik has been off the circuit again since pushing on. I think maybe he's just gone a little bit too hot into turn 10. It's really easy to lose the back end here, just like that. Not a good night for him so far, eh?
Not really, no. One of the... it's a race of contrasting fortunes, I think, for the McLaren campers. You got one way out in front leading the race by a couple of margins that then get eaten back up into on account of the slipstream. And then you've got, sadly, Silas Craig-Vrolik, who is really struggling there on account of the damage picked up from that starting incident between himself and Nico Minardi. Good to see them both back out there on the circuit, though, soldiering on. And Silas Craig-Vrolik, he has made his pit stop, so it's not over yet. He can still get some good points. He is out of this slipstream train, though, so he won't be able to save as much fuel as those around him. That could come into effect later on in the race if he isn't able to extend it until the end.
Got a great train of cars going on here, once again, including Pete Harrod and Sam Fitzpatrick, who both did an amazing job at Interlagos to stay with that lead battle that was going on. Do you remember there was just the two of them hanging way back off the main sort of slipstreaming train, and these pair are now third and fourth in this race and working hard to get back up to the front. Cam Dance is actually starting to put a bit of pressure on Jake Cranstone here. He's starting to look down the inside, show his nose leading into corners, and it's not normally what we'd see from Cam. He usually is happy to sit behind and get out of the slipstream. He might just have been doing that, to be fair, to prove to Jake he's not going to try and sort of jump in front. I'm not going to make the move. I'm not going to force the issue. But at the same time, it might be a bit of mind games, because Jake's had a couple of Grand Prix now where he's seen Cam doing that, and that's what he's going to have in his head. He's thinking, oh, he doesn't mean it, but he might do. He might then catch him out and say, yeah, I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna go for it. But still, great looking field so far, led by Jake Cranstone. Jack Stiles is under pressure from Kevin Zemstra right now. These two were teammates last season at Ferrari.
Yeah, and now they're seemingly rivals at the moment. Jack Stiles in the Ford, Zemstra in the Ferrari. But I mean, you've just explained one of my favourite things about league racing, with the interplay between Cranston and Dance. The way that you see a driver do something every single time across the season. You get used to how everyone drives in a championship. You can see, they're just looking to the inside. That's what they always do. And you can use that sometimes to your advantage by doing something unexpected to catch out drivers. You don't get that in these sort of iRacing officials where you're racing against different drivers nearly every single time. You don't get to know their little quirks, the little ways they drive. And that's one of the favourite things that I have about these endurance races. Just like proper club racing, where you go against the same lads and you get a good sense of community. It's just like that, and you can feel how they drive, and of course have a good bit of banter with them after the race is all said and done, which is another thing we love, isn't it, Chaz, about this championship, is the real sense of community and togetherness. All the drivers obviously having a good laugh, but at the end of the day, racing is where the serious stuff happens, and all outside of that, it's just like a bunch of mates all having some fun together.
Yeah, it's like everyone just meets up for a pint after the race, isn't it, in our Discord? It's really, really lovely. The camaraderie between them all is great, and they all take the mick out of each other and make memes of each other and all sorts, but it's all in so much fun. It really is. So
some of them made postcards earlier, didn't they?
Yes, Gilles Gardner making team driver cards, actually, for himself and Simon Price. They're both going well at the moment. Gilles gained a position from where he started, and Simon has gained 8. He's the biggest mover in the field and is now into 11th position, still inside the points, with Rob Lundgren just behind him for Minardi. Rob's also on to try and get Minardi's first points of the season, because Prost, Minardi and Tyrrell don't have any points yet. Unfortunately, the two Prosts are both running outside of the points. Kenyon having that incident on the first lap, and then Tusting being turned around. It's an unfortunate sort of return to the championship for John Tusting. He's down in 20th place, all on his own. He's 23 seconds ahead of John Roberts and a minute ahead of poor Nico Minardi, who, now that he's actually had a good qualifying, he's had a torrid start to the race.
Yeah, exactly. He's quite a ways off the pace, but again, we've been saying there's still time for things to change, but we are a few laps away from the pit window fully opening for these drivers. As we have a replay here of, I believe it's Tom Minor, just tapping the grass on the way into turn 12, and
good save.
Well held, actually. I thought that was going to be ending in the barriers, but he keeps it going.
That was a fantastic save by Tom Minor, really good. Just overdoes it though, over to the left, look, clips that grass, slams on the brake, straightens the front up, and that's just beautiful car control. And even on the throttle as well, it still slides out a little bit on the exit. Well done, Tom. Great bit of driving, really, in all when all's said and done. It may not have been great to have the slide in the first place, but still, great recovery. Jack Styles is still under massive pressure here from ex-teammate Kevin Zemstra, and this is meaning now that Sam Fitzpatrick and Pete Harrod and co can disappear up the road, but this train is getting closer and closer. We saw it a couple of laps ago, and there was a lot of spread between them all, but now it's starting to concertina up a little bit, and Jack is going to feel this pressure from the drivers behind him. Jack is certainly someone that I didn't think finished pre-season testing where he normally would. Like I say, he was driving for Ferrari last season with Kevin Zemstra, but this season he's got that sort of bit of dark horse about him where he's in a Stewart, and the Stewart's performed oddly very well every so often in 1998 and in the late 90s. I think they won a Grand Prix with Johnny Herbert at the Nürburgring in 1999 actually, and they had a few decent results in the late 90s. So Jack is here to sort of provide said results for Stewart ahead of the Ferrari and then the arrows of Stuart Clark, who's going really well.
Yeah, exactly. Stuart Clark staying where he qualified, and it was a strong qualifying performance that has really turned a lot of heads to focus on him and sort of bring him into attention, because it's been a good start to the season so far. Some good results coming through. Obviously been involved in a few tussles here and there, but by the by he's been churning out those results and those points, and that can be very pivotal for Arrows going forward this season. And now we can see, I don't think Jack was fighting that one too hard, realised that the train of cars was vanishing further and further up the road, and decides, right, if you want to be quicker than me, you bring us back into this fight, Kevin. I'm not going to fight you.
Yeah, Kevin goes in front down into turn one, and I think you're absolutely right. I don't think Jack Styles is going to fight this one too hard at this moment in time. He's just going to sit with Kevin and see whether he can follow him nice and tidy. Maybe save a bit of fuel as well, because let's not forget these drivers do have to pit during these races. The fuel load that they start the race with on the setup that they're given will not make it to the end of the race, but they can fill up enough to make it to the end from a pit stop onwards. Silas Craig Vrolik, I'm afraid, has come back into the pits and is now dropping down the order behind John Roberts, and he's still sat in the pits. I'm not sure if he's just getting something repaired, but he hasn't been off the circuit since, and I think that's going to be his race potentially done, but we'll keep an eye on whether he does come back out. But look at this, just behind this now, you've got a bit of a close battle going on with Mike Murphy and Tim Perry closing in on the back of him in the Ferrari. Tim hoping to make amends, like I say, for a really torrid start to the season. Had an incident with Jack Styles actually at Interlagos, just understeered a little bit wide, did Jack, and took Tim around, and he was a lap down and decided to call it a day there after big damage to the car. I don't think the front right wheel was on the ground, the left rear was that destroyed. But right now, as he has a bit of a wobble into the last corner, Tim is hoping to push on and make amends, but you can see the drivers a bit further back in this train really are pushing to get further to the front of it.
Yeah, they are. It's great to see sort of the amount that the drivers are trying to get involved in the mix, and these for a second here are basically banging off the rev limiter, almost maxing out the top speed of the dinky little Formula Mazda.
Great looking car.
Imagine how insane that'd be if they were in the high downforce. They'd be buzzing off the limiter before they get to the timing beam, almost.
Yeah, they really would. And to be fair, some people did say, do we go to low downforce for bigger circuits? But honestly, no. It's so difficult to drive without it that we would not get any racing laps in without people spinning and having accidents, and it wouldn't be as fun. You know, that's one of the main things about this championship, is that it's fun for the drivers. That's one of the main aims here, is that they enjoy themselves. Sam Fitzpatrick's, I've just noticed he's got a little bit of damage on his front wing. The front left is bent downwards slightly, and the front right is bent upwards. Not sure if that's going to be affecting him, because, I mean, we saw the state of, I think it was Jake Cranstone's car at Winton, and he was saying that, you know, he couldn't feel that there was any damage on the car after hitting the curbs, but like the whole side pod was caved in and the wing was basically non-existent on the front. Tim Perry has just overtaken Mike Murphy down the inside into turn 10, but look at the gap that has now opened up to the cars in front. Stuart Clark is able to move away a couple of car lengths and is now 8 and a bit tenths clear, but he's actually lost Jack Styles. Jack's now a second clear of him. So the moves are going on, but it's starting to split up this big pack. This is how he did it, Ed.
All the way down, back straight, out of turn 9, up the inside into
Nice.
turn 10. Late on the brakes, a little lock-up as well, but keeps it to the inside and basically muscles his way through on the Sauber. So lovely little move there by Tim Perry. I'm not sure if there's any reply in return. No, Mike seems content to hang back for the moment. And like you say, the gaps did open up, but now they've, I think, closed back down in this little fight again now. So the Ferrari of Tim Perry able to reel in Stuart Clark in the arrows, just a touch more to keep it nice and close. But the real gap to watch is that of Sam Fitzpatrick and Kevin Zemstra, because that's 2.5 seconds. Last lap was a personal best by Kevin, but still not enough to close in on the Williams Mechachrome car in 4th place.
Sim Sundays, the sim racing podcast by Gridfinder in the YouTube chat. Great to see you. Good evening. We hope you enjoy the Formula One madness and the nostalgia that we bring here on Chaz Draycott Media. Great to see you though. Hope you're enjoying yourself and hope everyone else is as well. Hope you're all having a wonderful night of it. And we hope that this Grand Prix, or the Boar Prix as we call it, is entertaining enough so far. I'm afraid to say that Silas Craig-Relic is out of the race. He has disappeared, unfortunately, from the pit lane. So it's the McLaren's bookending the order at the moment because his teammate Jake Cranstone leads the way. But that poor start for Silas put him right into the mix, and a little bit of magnetising one way and then the other between the two cars is all it took to really cause big damage, and I don't think he's been able to get back into a rhythm since there. But it's the top 4 once again with a duo behind them that is the sort of separation here as we had at Interlagos. We're on to lap 12 out of 27 now. We're nearing the halfway point of the race. We've got a single pit stop completed as a scheduled stop by now by Tom Minot. He came in just on the previous lap. The drivers are allowed to pit any time after the first 10 laps of the race. I think it's the first 8 laps that we've got it set to for Spa-Francorchamps. It is first 8 laps because we're not doing as many there, obviously with it being such a long circuit. So these guys have to consider when they're going to come in and what the other guys around them are doing as well, because as we all know, it's really, really easy to just copy the cars around you and in front of you as, oh, Simon Price has just dropped out of the points in one fell swoop as Rob Lundgren and Ben Chalcraft have just gone past him here, Ed. We'll get onto the pits in a minute.
Have a look here, just look at that all the way around the outside, and then can he hang on to it just but then look, they're still going side by side. Rob Lundgren slides back through, and then look at that, the lovely little Jordan Mugen Honda again just getting in the mix. It's a great little tussle, this, isn't it? The three-way fight.
Now Chalcraft's going to set his sights on Rob Lundgren now and try and get back in front, isn't he?
Absolutely. Try and get back up the order. And like you mentioned, one of the drivers who was yet to come in to the pits, all of these drivers fighting away. There's that big sort of disconnect from about 9th down into 10th.
Yeah, there is, and the biggest mover in the field at the moment, now that Simon Price has been displaced, is actually Toby Ward. He started at the very back of the grid in 21st, and he's gained 7 positions. Simon Price has still gained 6 in the Tyrrell, so he's having a really, really good time. I didn't quite get the silver right on that car, and it still bugs me to this day, but still, I've got the silver right on most of the others. There's Cam Dance. Well, he doesn't want to settle for silver, does he? He doesn't want to sit in second place anymore. He's having a look down the inside of Jake Cranstone there in the McLaren, so the Williams starting to get a little bit fired up here into the first couple of corners. I think maybe he knows that he's going to pit quite soon, and he wants to push now and put the pressure on.
Yeah, he's saying, right, I don't want to remove my record of being the only driver to win more than one round in a Formula One season.
Well, even still to this date, no one else has won more than one race.
Oh yeah, no one else has won more than one, but obviously favourite to end that record, that impressive record held by Cam Dance. He's the best Jake around here at Catalunya. And Jake, while he didn't put it on pole, still put it comfortably onto the front row, even with the massive pressure that was building on him being the last driver out on the circuit. So he's made of strong stuff, and he needs to be made of, well, absolutely solid stuff to withstand this assault that will be forthcoming from Cam Dance before the pit stops, you would imagine. Again, we have the situation of what are the drivers going to be doing? Is it a case of do whatever he doesn't do? Do you copy him? Do you try and beat him through the pit lane? It's all these different little scenarios that the drivers concoct and think about before the race, but a lot of the times the plans that you make aren't really the plans that you can execute, because even in these short races, unexpected things can throw themselves at you.
Yeah, it can really change, to be fair. You have to just take each race as it goes, lap by lap, and think about your fuel strategy as you go through it. You have to really be able to adapt in a championship like this, because it's only one chance that you get. There's one pit stop usually in each of these races, so you don't get many chances to get it right or get it wrong even. And to be fair, you say short race though, Ed, they're about an hour, aren't they, usually, in this championship, as Chalcraft and Lundgren are having a bit of a swap around here. Chalcraft gets held up. Price has to try and back up into this as well. All of a sudden, we've got this three-way fight once again. It looked like they were spread out on the previous lap, but no, not the case anymore. Lundgren and Chalcraft weaving around all over the place, trying to get away from each other. Chalcraft goes late round the outside into turn 4. Simon Price tucks it in down the inside, sticks to the curb on the right. Chalcraft stays on the left. We'll stick with this for a minute. Gilles Gardner's coming to the pits. He's been all on his own for a bit. Chalcraft sends it down the inside. Look at this, though, by Simon Price. He sees Lundgren running out wide. Can't quite get the run. There was a risk that he was going to run wide into Lundgren, or Lundgren was going to cut him off, so he didn't want to get involved in that. Lundgren looks down the inside of Chalcraft again. They're so close to contact, but Chalcraft is in front, gets a good run on the exit of the corner. Now Simon Price is going to get the run on Lundgren. He's going to try and go down the inside, backs out of it into turn 9. But great awareness there from all three drivers. They really did throw it as hard as they could at each other there. Yeah. But Chalcraft gets away with it, gets the place. Simon Price wants to come back now at Rob Lundgren.
Yeah, and to all the people watching this and wondering, oh, well, why is Chalcraft so much further behind the race leaders than the likes of Hoffman, who's only 7 seconds back? These drivers are all like 20 seconds back. I think this is exactly why, because they've been doing this, you can imagine, from, well, the drop of the green flag up until lap 15. So this has been great, obviously, for us to watch, but not great for their hopes of getting into the top 10, because while they're squabbling away, they can see that Ben Hoffman is able to carry on unbothered and unburdened by all of this nonsense.
This is going to be painful for Ben Chalcraft, though, because he's just overtaken these two guys, and look how many cars you can see ahead of you. He's got 15 seconds ahead to Ben Hoffman in 10th position, but like we said, the top 10 is all in one train, effectively. There's a bit of a gap in the middle after Sam Fitzpatrick, but we've got 4 cars and then 6 cars, and these 6 have all stuck together, and I'm interested to see what order they all come out in here, because once they've pitted, it's going to be a different kettle of fish altogether. Martin Kenyon is back into the pit lane in the Prost, and Tom Minot has just gone through down the start-finish straight. Martin Kenyon on his way back out. We'll just show you the pit stops on the left-hand side so you can see who has stopped and who has not. And Tom Minot is the driver that pitted first, and now ahead of everybody else that has had their scheduled stops so far. John Roberts just went through a moment ago. Nico Minardi is still circulating, but like I said, he's unfortunately a minute off the car in front. But hats off to him, you know, he's jumped in. He is the main sponsor of the championship as well. F1countdown.com. I promised him I wouldn't get the name wrong, but I keep calling it Formula1countdown.com, and it's not. It's F1countdown.com. Nico is the main sponsor, and I'm very grateful for that, and he wants to make sure he gets his track time. Sam Fitzpatrick, well, it's go time for Sam right now. Down the start-finish straight. Tim Perry comes into the pits, but look, he's not making a move on Pete Harrod yet. He's waiting, isn't he? Good stuff.
Yeah. Just staying there and not making the move is, I think, just as much of a message as actually attempting the overtake itself, because the drivers are aware when people are holding back and when people are properly sending their punches and following through on them. And right now, every single punch in this 4-way battle is being pulled. They're not really getting full-on bare knuckle boxing. They're sort of lightly tapping one another. Or are they? Never mind. Look at this. Wow. A sucker punch from Sam Fitzpatrick up the inside, catching Pete Harrod unawares, and up into 3rd place goes the Williams. So now it's McLaren, Williams, Jordan.
That's important.
Can
for
the two Williams cars maybe throw something in the works to upset Jake Cranston and maybe force him to make a less than optimal strategy call?
And also in the Teams Championship, it's important as well, because you get 15 points for a race victory here in Formula 1. But then when you consider second and third, you get 12 and then 10 points. So right now, Williams are on to score 22 points with these guys. Cam Dance actually getting an extra point for pole position, so 23 points to the 15 of Jake Cranstone. That will bring that lead gap down to just 6 points in the team's championship after 3 races.
Jake's come in.
And Cranstone has been the first to blink, so he's been at the front of the pack. He's been using all of the fuel. He's not been saving any, and he has dived in first. We've had a problem, I'm afraid, for Simon Price as well. Sorry.
Here. There we go. This is coming out of the pits into the corner. The tyres do lose a little bit of temperature, and he bumps over the anti-cut on the inside of turn 1. That does probably do a bit of floor damage as well as cause him to lose a bit of time. I think that was the right time for Jake to come into the pits, though. He's seen that there's been a bit of movement in behind, and you don't really want to allow the two Williams to get closer to you to throw some spanners in the works. You need to come in right away and do the call yourself. And look at the clear track that Jake's going to come out into. He's coming into that lovely little window behind Ben Hoffman.
And I think Stuart Clark was ahead of Tim Perry earlier on, so there's not been any change there. These two are right together, though. The Arrow's ahead of the Ferrari right now. Let's have a look back at our leaders, because they're about 2/3 of the way around the circuit. We've got Cam Dance and Sam Fitzpatrick. 1-2 for Williams. Sam started 8th on the grid, by the way. He's having a fantastic ball pre so far. Unfortunately, Nico Minardi's day has come to an end, I think. I think he's had a bit of a drama here. Either that or he's decided to call it quits. And yeah, I think he's just pulled over to one side there. And I don't blame him. You know, that bit of contact at the beginning, unfortunately, undid the race from the very get-go. And it's not a nice experience to just drive around on your own at the back in 20th. But he's done it for a long time already. So, you know, we are grateful to Nico for that. But look at this. Into the pits come all of the top 3, and wow, I didn't know you could cut it that much, boys, and I hope for their sake that you're allowed to. Whoa, it's Fitzpatrick late on the brakes.
Got away with it. Yeah, you can cut it quite severely through the pit entry line, but tell you what, it's going to be a busy time for the Williams mechanics. You don't tend to have 2 cars coming in for a pit stop, and you can't really double stack in these, so luckily they do have 2 separate pit garages, 2 separate sets of pit crews to work on them both at the same time. But here comes Jake Cranston. Look at that, chucking it through the cores. You can tell that he is really attacking now, because this is what you would essentially call the push, push, push time. You're in lap and you're out lap, and look at the flurry of activity on the pit exit. And it's going to be a race under the brakes. Cam Dance and Cranston, who's going to get it? I think we're going to see Cam Dance, yes, into the lead of the race. And now it is a McLaren sandwich with the 2 Williams as the bread in the lead of the race.
It was very close there with Jack Stiles and Kevin Zemstra as well. Stiles just missing out with that lovely red tinted visor. But yes, Cam Dance leads the Spanish Ball Prix here in Season 2. And once again, Cam has made the pit stop strategy work. He was in the pits for 1.1 seconds less than Jake Cranstone, and that has made all the difference. That's given him the car length. Pete Harrod is still there, by the way. Him and Sam have actually had a very under-the-radar performance, technically, because they've not done a massive amount to sort of bring our attention to them, but sometimes they are the best races. Zemstra's 5th, Jack Stiles 6th, and I tell you what, Tim Perry in 7th. He's going to be a lot happier with this at the moment, especially considering how Ferrari's start to the season has gone. They have only 13 points to their name at the moment in the championship, and finishing 5th and 7th will give them 14 points from just this race alone. So they're going to more than double their total tally with just this result if it stays as it is. Ben Hoffman's doing well as Cranstone's gone for it. Cranstone's gone for it already, and he's retaken the race lead, but Cam Dance back down the inside. Cranstone needs to be careful of how much room he gives him. Oh, he turned in a little bit exuberantly there. That's definitely my word for driving a bit, maybe too aggressively.
Reckless,
but, yeah. Yeah, just don't be an idiot. Don't be exuberant.
Immediately, though, Chaz, I know you won't hear this because you've got it turned off, but the driver chat, immediately an apology coming through from Jake Cranston. So you can tell that wasn't intentional. So he should, slap the law back on him, make sure he knows his place. But yeah, it's great to see that there isn't anything wrong. He says sorry, but he's not going to be sorry about this. Up the inside, and he'll be trying to take this position back, but they give each other the room, plenty of space given.
Let's not forget, in Season 1, by the way, Silas Craig Rollick and Cam Dance came to blows at Turn 1 and decided the race result here at Catalunya. We've got 4 packs of cigarettes all having a fight right now. And Pete Harrod wants a bit of this as well. 2x2 nearly. No? Yes? No? Go on, Pete. Cam's overdone
Dance
it.
locks up, and he's going to lose all of the positions. He's gone from first to last in one moment. well, not last, but last of this battle at least, down into 4th place. And there's a lock up there. Oh my word. The Jordan just slightly gets out of shape, as does Cam Dance on the exit. They're side by side all the way through, and who's going to blink first, who's going to back out? The Jordan does and slots himself back into 4th place, but Cam Dance, that was just pushing so hard, and again, the pressure might have proved a little bit too much. Jake Cranston hanging on, but already this race has absolutely flown by, Chaz. It really has done. It's a real belter, and we were saying Catalunya isn't going to disappoint, and we've certainly been entertained in this battling. Look at this. It's bringing the likes of Kevin Zemstra back into the fight now.
It is. Kevin's only 2.2 seconds behind this lot. If we go on board with him, you can see they're only up there. We saw in the previous round as well, with a good scrap ahead of you, you can gain like 6 to sort of 8 seconds in the matter of a few laps with these cars. So Kevin's definitely going to be feeling the pressure to perform now. He's going to be pushing, that's for sure. But yeah, great racing so far at the front of the field. Sorry, Mr. Cameraman. Jake Cranstone leads the way from Sam Fitzpatrick, of all people, as well. Sam started 8th on the grid. He's up to 2nd. He's going to be loving this. But it's great for Williams in terms of their points at the moment. Cam looked like he went a bit hot into there. But I'll tell you one thing, though. Pete was really wise to back out of that move there as they went up through turns 7 and 8. You know, he knew that he had to be the car to back out of it and not try to sort of force the issue as such. And it's that sort of clever driving in a championship like this that really does make all of the difference over the course of the season. Good to see Tim Rutten in the chat as well. He said, I forgot how much I love Chaz's commentary. Great race so far. Glad you enjoyed it, my friend, and thank you very much for the kind words. And Sim Racing Podcast by Gridfinder saying, I'm loving this. I miss iRacing. It takes me back to my Skip Barber seasons. Yes, little open wheelers like this on iRacing are fantastic, but unfortunately it sort of dilutes the participation when we've got about 49 of them. There's a lot of different open wheelers on iRacing, but the reason we use these is just because they look the most like caricature 1990s Formula 1 cars. That's literally the only reason. That, and they're amazing for racing, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. The racing that we have been treated to has been amazing. Pace is actually, I think, fairly similar as well to the 90s Formula 1 cars. Probably not on the same pace, but still nice and quick. So you get that same feeling of watching them rush by. Like you say, that was very smart by Pete Harrod to do what he did that lap previously. And moments like that, racing like that, can also win you races, because those front three, they're all quite feisty, all getting their elbows out and then some. And if they do come to blows, he's in the perfect position to mop up the scraps and take the race victory, should it come down to it. So waiting in the wings is the perfect thing to do in this situation. Maybe when it gets to about lap 26, lap 25, you can start to throw a few punches at yourself, but no, there's a clash between teammates. Rule number 1, never hit your teammate.
I'm so sorry, but it was coming. It was coming for so long. The last 2 laps, Cam Dance has been so late on the brakes into there, and he's not been compensating for Sam Fitzpatrick. And it's been coming. I saw it coming last time out, and he's done it again. I say he's done it again. He didn't hit him last time, but he was so late on the brakes in comparison. And Sam just gets nailed off the circuit. But honestly, the lap or so before, it was the same situation. We've rewound quite a lot here, but I want to just show you the point here, because Cam Dance, it was actually Cam making a mistake that then caused Jake to go through. This is the sort of little issue that they had before. You'll see that Jake goes for the apex as if Cam's not there. It's only the tiniest touch though, so it's not that bad really, but there was another lap after that, I think it was, where I'm trying to figure out where it was now. It was when Sam first went past him. It was at the end of this lap actually, so it's quite a while after this, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get back to it, but honestly, if you went back and looked, I mean, obviously those of you that are watching this afterwards can now go back and do that. But just 2 laps prior, Cam was so late on the brakes, and I thought he's going to hit his teammate if he does that again, and he did. He went too late on the brakes, and he's...
Did I? I think we both cursed it there, because what was I saying earlier about Pete Harrod? If he just sits behind, he's going to be able to get positions when they do come to blows. The elbows have been coming out. Has, again, the curse of the commentator struck the Formula 1 World Championship? We will... Well, the answer's probably yes, to be fair, if you're Sam Fitzpatrick, because that is really unfortunate what's happened to him. Through no fault of his own, he's got huge damage, and he'll be, I think, very fortunate if he can finish inside the top 10. He's got a sizable gap 2 cars behind, but that'll still be about just nursing it home now until the end. Jake Cranston now just has Cam Dance and Pete Harrod to worry about. Potentially Kevin Zemstra should the battling get too hot and bring everyone into contention a little bit more.
They're a little bit spread out,
So
though,
far.
aren't they?
A little bit, but of course the slipstream, it does bring them close together in a couple of laps. They'll probably be nose to tail once more.
Just looking there at Tim Perry, actually. Sorry, he's gained 7 places in this race. Jack Stiles has gained 6. You know, they started 11th and 13th on the grid. Tom Minot started 20th, let's not forget, after not putting in a valid lap time in qualifying, and he's now inside the points as well. Toby Ward has gained 7 after having his technical issues earlier. There's a lot of great stories going on in this race so far, but for me, I know we don't really do a driver of the race, but Tim Perry's been one of the drivers of the race for me, if not the, because he's just been so consistent in making his way through the field. He had a torrid time in the first 2 races of the season, made a mistake from 3rd at Winton, and then he and Jack Stiles, actually, the car right in front of him, came together through no fault of Tim's at Interlagos, and he was down a lap and basically just called it a day there. But today, he started outside of the points in terms of his qualifying position, had a bit of a torrid qualifying in 13th, and he's made his way inside the top 10 and is just outside of the top 5. It's a great result, this will be, if Tim can stay there.
Yeah, definitely. Same as well, actually, for Toby Ward. He's currently sitting in 14th place, a few positions away from points. And should the race go his way, if there's a little bit of dramas up in front, he can get himself into that all-important 12th place where you do score at least 1 championship point, if I'm not mistaken, Chaz. That'll be very good for Stuart Ford, who I think are one of the teams yet to get points on the board.
Prost, Peugeot and Minardi.
Oh, the other 2, are they? The other 3, right? The other 2 of the 3, I think, are they?
Yes.
Yes. So again, that's going to be pivotal for them to get onto the board. Like I say, it's going to be
Tim's
intriguing
actually,
to see.
Sorry, he's passed Styles.
Oh.
Was I not looking when this happened? Sorry, but Jack's just a little bit slow through 4, and Tim's just said, right, stuff it, I'm going to go down the inside, nearly contact. And the 2 of them get away with it, so now the Ferrari's in 4th and 5th. Apologies there, I got distracted by looking at the points and trying to figure out a pattern with certain results, and then, yeah, I've lost out on that. That's Hoffman, looks down the inside of Stuart Clark, another driver who's having a great meeting. He may not have gained many places in this race, or any at all, Stuart Clark, but he's really done well here tonight. He's gelled a lot with this circuit, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's gelled a lot with his car as well, I think it's fair to say. He's taken to it very nicely. Some of these drivers, obviously through the pre-qualifying, have had to sort of bed into it, the pre-season testing, to get used to it, and they really are adapting rather nicely. But out in front, well, it's the newcomer versus the old guard, the championship victor, the reigning champion versus the new challenger, and so far the challenger is becoming the challenged, because Cam Dance is fighting through and trying to put the pressure on, looking up the inside, looking to the outside. It's all these little movements that are going to be trying to get in the head of Jake Cranston. Look at this, Ben Hoffman looking to the inside. Everyone's looking to the inside, not necessarily to overtake, but more to cover off the advances from behind. And that's when you can see some drivers start to worry a touch. It's great though, isn't it, to watch the fight all the way up and down the field. No matter where you look, there's always going to be a battle somewhere on the circuit.
Fighting their own cars as well in the case of Ben Hoffman there, who's really having a wiggle on the exit and it's lost him quite a bit of time. But it's been a bit of a spin for Rob Lundgren, I think, on the previous lap, unfortunately. He's just had a bit of a moment. He's going to continue on, but he's now dropped a good few seconds behind Ben Chalcraft, who's actually got himself into the points in 12th place. There's a lock up there from Tim Perry in the Ferrari. I don't think Jack Stiles is close enough to take advantage of it, though. That's the thing. He's not quite right up behind him. I love how often these cars spit flames out the back as well, because they are rotary engines. You know, they use a lot of fuel and a lot of oil, so they really do have a lot of stuff going on in there to ignite and just spit any remnants out of the back. But Jake Cranstone continues to lead this race from Cam Dance and Pete Harrod. Zemstra in the background is having a really good run here, but he's just not able to quite get close enough to benefit from the slipstream yet. The gap is now up to 2.3 seconds as Cam Dance moves out of the slipstream of Cranstone, almost to prove a point there again. We've seen him do this before, but again, let's not let him catch us out, or Jake.
No, exactly. It's all about getting the move done. But even if Jake loses the position into turn 1, he can stay close and fight back all the way into turn 10. We've seen him make that move before, didn't we? To just get ahead, where they had that little bit of contact, I think, through turn 12 after being side by side. So it all can come together as I thought for a moment we were going to see a coming together of its own between likes of Stuart Clark and Jack Stiles. Jack again just able to keep the position for the moment, as also being careful to not let Tim Perry run away with things. Battling like this obviously has given Tim a bit more breathing space to work with. Look at how much some of these drivers do chuck it through turns 7 and 8. That little anti-cut they have to get far out of the way of. Almost you see the cars darting to the left out just to avoid the damage. Because if you do hit it, it's not just damage, but it's also the fact that the car can send off, as Chaz has a bit of a moment, and it's nearly Ben Hoffman having a moment of himself into the rear end of the arrows. But again, just judging it nicely, we've already seen one moment earlier on in this race between teammates, no less, and we don't want to see it between rivals either.
I know it's easy for me to sit here and slate some of the driving, but sometimes it seems like the drivers just don't compensate for the fact that the car in front is going to brake early, and they just don't really seem to bother about it. We've got 2 laps to go now, though, and Cam Dance is in the perfect place here because he wants to be on the outside for turn 1, which is the inside for turn 2. Doesn't quite get it done, though, into turn 1. Pete Harrod's going to have a great front row seat of this, but watch Pete, because he's just going to sit back. He's going to let these guys fight now. He's going to sit there in third. He's not going to try anything too much, I don't think. Cam Dance is going to be the one attacking Jake Cranstone, while Pete Harrod watches and just waits to sort of see him fire forward like some sort of missile. Hopefully there's no contact. We all know that we don't want contact, but we've got a McLaren, a Williams and a Jordan fighting here at Catalunya for the win with 1.5 laps to go, and Kevin Zemstra is now only 1.9 seconds back, and that's gone down by 0.4 in just the first couple of corners.
I mean, you say that we all don't want contact. I don't think that's the same for everybody here. I mean, there's certainly one driver in yellow certainly is hoping to see a little bit of sparks and a bit of crunching potentially, because that will obviously benefit him massively. Go on the way to Jordan's first win of the season, his own first win of the season as well. Like you say, it's a interesting championship fight, not only for the drivers but also the teams, because McLaren, they're going to be having a non-scorer. Williams could have been on track for 2 cars on the podium, but they came to blows. So now we've got the Sam Fitzpatrick car in 9th place, who's going to still be getting some points, but not as many. Then we also have the Jordans with a Strickland car in 12th place, another up into 3rd. So it's all been quite intriguing to see what the picture will look like. But here we go, white flag being waved. Jake Cranston with the number 1 of Cam Dance harrying away, and look at that, diving up the inside. Jake Cranston, did he brake a little bit too late? He left loads of room, and now he's having to fight side by side. And look at this, Pete Harrod takes massive advantage, and now we can see Pete Harrod, he's just got one more car between himself and the race lead. But look at Jake with the switchback through turn 3 and now into turn 4. He's going to take this back, but all of that battling is giving Cam Dance nearly 7/10 of an advantage for the final sort of 2/3 of the lap.
Yeah, Cam Dance knew exactly what he wanted to do there. He wanted to send it down the inside, get the move done, and compromise the other 2 drivers, and that's exactly what he has done. I'm not sure if he went off and had a slowdown penalty, but it looked like he was going way too hot into there, and he managed to just about get away with it. Kevin Zemstra's only 7/10 behind this as well, so if it still goes to pot between 2nd and 3rd, he can pick up the pieces. But it's reigning champion Cam Dance doing what he does best, playing the game here in Boremula 1 and doing a fantastic job of it. Ben Hoffman moved up a little bit, and by the way, you mentioned those points for Williams. While Jake Cranstone was leading the race, Williams would have only scored 1 more point than McLaren, as Pete Harrod's gone deep. Pete Harrod goes deep into turn 10. Is he going to give anything up to Kevin Zemstra? I don't think he is. But there's only going to be 2 corners left, though, for Cam Dance. And you said earlier that you don't want him, or he doesn't want people to be winning more than 1 race. Still, nobody has won more than 1 race in Boremula 1. Cam Dance won his 9th at the start of the season. He's going to be the first driver in Boremula 1 history to go into double digits. Cam Dance wins the Spanish Bour Prix in Season 2. Great drive. Jake Cranstone, another fantastic performance for 2nd. Pete Harrod 3rd. Kevin Zemstra 4th. Tim Perry 5th. What a night for Ferrari. Jack Stiles finishes in 6th place. Tim Perry gained 8 places, by the way. Hoffman behind, then Stuart Clark. Sam Fitzpatrick will be thinking what might have been. Mike Murphy, very under the radar, in 10th place. And the biggest mover in the field is actually going to be this man, Tom Minot. Is going to come around the final corner after gaining 9 places from 20th on the grid. Very well done to Tom as he crosses the line for a couple of championship points for his troubles. And the last points finisher is going to be Ben Chalcraft. There's been drama as John Roberts has been turned. I think John Roberts has been turned by either Martin Kenyon or Toby Ward. I think there's been something go on, or he's tried to move and it's gone wrong. Martin Kenyon overtook John Roberts here. Oh, has John just dropped it on his own on the last lap? Oh, he has.
Oh.
John, no. It wasn't for points, but still, there's bragging rights there between these guys. But I'll tell you one thing, and that is that Cam Dance has become, once again, a record setter here in Formula 1 and takes another race victory. The first driver to take double-digit wins in this championship when nobody else has won more than one. Amazing.
Ridiculous statistics being pumped out by Iranian champion, and potentially trying to work out some of the maths here. Championship leader after tonight. It might be close to yourself in Cranston, but I think it will be the championship leader.
Yeah,
Cam Dance,
one
obviously,
point
with the extra
to Dance.
1 point. Oh,
And that's for qualifying as
there
well
we
on
go.
pole.
That is the qualifying point. Yeah, that is. So that's ridiculous that it's this close in the third round of the season. Does mean, of course, that we don't have any clear favourites. I'll tell you what, that was a vintage Cam Dance performance. Letting Jake Cranston do all the work out in front for so many laps. Then right at the last time of asking, in the last lap, takes it away from him, snatches it.
Beautiful
Like
job.
sweets from a child.
John Roberts ran out of fuel, he said, and as the car coughed, it spanned, so obviously it's going to stutter like mad and it's locked up the rear axle. We're going to see some great donuts here from Cam Dance. I'll say great donuts.
Oh.
Oh, Cam. Normally he's so good at these and it makes for a great
Has he got traction
screenshot.
control on? He's been found out. He's running traction control.
Yeah,
no,
that's
never
it.
mind, there we are.
Griphacks.exe. But there we go then. Cam Dance wins the Spanish Ball Prix round 3 of the season here in the Chaz Draycott Media Formula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine. Cam Dance then at the top, half a second clear of Jake Cranstone. Pete Harrod, more great points for Jordan Mugen Honda. But can we just talk about Ferrari? What a great night for them. Kevin Zemstra started 4th, finished 4th. Tim Perry started 13th on the grid and gets the top 5 result. Jack Stiles finishes in 6th place with 5 places gained. Ben Hoffman up to 7th. Stuart Clark finishes 8th, a good night for him. Sam Fitzpatrick, he'll be so gutted about what happened there with Cam. And Mike Murphy rounds out the top 10. Tom Minot gained 9 places to finish 11th, with Ben Chalcraft getting the last championship point in 12th. And Minardi, Prost and Tyrrell still do not have any points on the board, as Rob Lundgren finishes 13th, Martin Kenyon 14th, and then Toby Ward 6 places gained from 21st to finish 15th. Simon Price 16th ahead of John Roberts, John Tusting, Gilles Gardner, and then the cars that were not finishing the race, unfortunately, were Nico Minardi and Silas Krag-Vrolik, 2 of the drivers involved in that big shunt at the very beginning. Well, Ed, another, like you say, vintage Cam Dance performance there, I'd say. That was really, really solid. You know, he was just doing everything right at the right time. And, well, it's another win in what's been an amazing career in this championship for him. He really shows him how it's done, doesn't he?
He really does, and that's the reason why he's won so many races. 10 races, won double digits the first time any driver's been able to hit double digits. The rest of them, best ones, have only got 1 to their name, so that is just a mark of the dominance that he has held over this championship across both seasons. It's only early doors, but you could say that he's probably favourite to keep that streak going for the next few, because again, you can see the drivers around him, they have pace, but it's the racecraft, the smarts that he has to pull those little calls off, and when it all comes down to it, the last lap, he's the driver you've got to put your money on.
You're absolutely right, and it's he and Jake Cranstone that have been on the podium in every race so far this season, and there's only 3 other drivers that have had 1 podium each: Pete Harrod, Silas Krag-Vrolik and Mike Murphy. There's the incident that happened at the start over on the left of your shot. Silas got so unlucky getting caught with the front end of that as well. It was so unfortunate. We actually have a moment now to speak to some drivers, and what we're going to do is probably speak to the man that, out of everybody tonight, is probably going to be the most miffed, if not Silas Krag-Vrolik, Martin Kenyon or Nico Minardi. But Sam Fitzpatrick is going to join us in the commentary box. Sam, first off, how was the race going from your perspective before the incident, which we'll talk about in a moment? Because it seemed like you're having a really good night.
Oh yeah, it was really good. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, qualifying was a bit disappointing. Where I went a fair bit slower than warm up, but to be fair, I think that's to be expected. I think everyone was just taking it a bit cautious. And then yeah, of course, nice starts in the pack, and it was very much similar to Interlagos, but I was being a bit more aggressive at early stages. You know, compared like I went for it on Pete, which he was very generous to give me room at that turn 5, so I wasn't gonna wait at the back of the pack like last time. I wanted to get a bit further up there.
Well, it was great to see you still fighting up there with your teammate Cam Dance, of course, until the incident. But I mean, what does it mean for you guys as teammates in this championship? Because I know obviously you've worked together a lot before, but it only really is the livery that's the same. Is there any sort of allegiance that's implied by that, or do you guys just race each other as if you're just competing anyway and not teammates?
We're in the same Discord. So me, Jack, Cam, and Kevin were all in the same Discord. So of course Cam immediately was very apologetic about it all. So I know that it certainly wasn't. Just a bit of netcode. Unfortunately, I think kind of lets it down. So a little bit disappointing, but it's still good fun to be up there once again in the lead pack.
And obviously, I'm sure you're going to be hoping to do the same again. We go to Montreal and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in a week's time. It's a circuit that was the scene of a big accident in this championship last season that really split the field and gave Cam an easy win. But what are you thinking of going there in this car? Because it's not going to be easy, that is it?
I really want to win that one. To win any round, it would be Montreal, I think. Like that one would be really, really cool. It's such like a sort of hot lapping circuit, I think, where there's so much time to be gained if you're going a bit closer to the walls. So I would rather kind of win that one and get no podiums for the rest of the season than finish second a bunch of times. So of all the rounds, that one would be very nice.
Well, it was great to see you up there, Sam. Like I say, really, really solid pace once again, and unfortunately not the result the result sheet won't reflect the race you've had, but still, we've been very impressed up here in the commentary box and look forward to seeing it at Montreal. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Thanks to Cam and Jack and Kevin for making the race and the warm up a bit more fun in the Discord. Thanks to Apex Racing, because I'm currently using Gordy Much's rig because all the others have gone. So thanks to him, thanks to John Robertson for letting me use their rig. It's much appreciated. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to race. So just those guys.
Well, send my
love.
And
cheers to you guys as well. Also, I forgot to say that last week. Yeah, it's a very good, obviously a very good championship and a very good broadcast. So I mean, and as a commentator, I always secretly hate everyone who doesn't thank the broadcast. So hopefully you don't hate me.
Not at all, Sam. We absolutely love having you about, mate, and it's great to see you going so well. And it's always good to chat to you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you at Montreal, mate.
Awesome. See you guys next week.
Cheers. Well, there we go. Fellow commentator Sam Fitzpatrick racing from the Apex Racing team facility as such. So fantastic to hear that he's actually there doing the racing from the facility. Ed has got our race winner and the first driver to get double-digit wins in this championship, Cam Dance.
Cam. How good does that sound? The first driver, double digits, and also still the only driver to win more than one race. Your stranglehold has been dominant. Just how was it feeling going into this? Obviously, it all came down to the last lap. Just talk us through the race from start to finish, mate, because it was a masterclass almost.
Yeah, I mean, obviously qualified on pole, so that was a surprise on its own. But no, it was like I said last week. It was just going to be about being smart and playing the waiting game to see what happened. Obviously, we got a pretty good start, and I thought we were actually going to possibly be able to run away. But then, obviously, Jake decided it was going to be a bit of party time, and we were going to start the fight. So look. Once the pit stops came out, it was just a matter of sticking with them and then just waiting till that last lap to see what we could do and give it a red hot crack. Brake pedal was playing up on a few occasions, but in the end, it was just a really mega send up the inside at turn 1. I actually didn't think I was going to pull it up. I thought there was maybe going to be a little bit of contact after how late I broke, but managed to pull it up and send it up the inside and get the winning in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we can't have a chat to you without talking about what happened a few laps before that daring move to the inside to take the race victory. But obviously, you did come to blows with your teammates. So just talk us through, because we did see you braking a little bit late into that corner a few laps earlier.
Yeah, I think I just misjudged when Sam was going to brake, to be honest. I didn't think he was going to brake when he did, and it just looked like netcode on my end, especially with the fact that I could still see quite a bit of his rear end, so a little bit unfortunate there, and obviously apologise to Sam about it, because that's not exactly how you wanted to be driving into the back of your teammates or finishing the race exactly, but a little bit unfortunate there. It's just a little bit of a misjudgment on my part, I think.
No, maybe not great for the team's championship, but the drivers' championship is still looking good for you. You're currently leading provisionally. I think we've got the points all sorted out by 1 point going into the next round. It's not the greatest of margins, but you are back out on top. And does that give you, any sort of confidence, or is it still just take every single race as it comes?
I think based on the season's just been so competitive so far. I mean, we're only 3 races in, but it's just been so competitive with obviously Jake, Pete, Kevin, and a lot of other guys stepping up and really taking the challenge to the championship title. So yeah, it's. I don't think there's really any sort of comfort. It's just going to be a matter of taking it one race at a time and just making sure we can be consistently scoring points and obviously trying to win if we can. But yeah, points is going to be obviously the main thing with just how close it is between the top 3 and the fact that it's now 1 point difference again, despite the fact it was 3 points in Jake's favour coming into this round, just showed how close it is and just the fact that you cannot rest at all.
No, absolutely. And speaking of no resting, you're going to be going to Montreal in a week's time, a circuit that takes no prisoners. Are you going to be putting any extra preparation in for this round, considering it's one where the slightest mistake will cost you dearly?
Not 100% sure, to be honest. I mean, we did pretty well at... I'm pretty sure we went to Montreal last year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we went pretty well there anyway. So, yeah, hey, look, it's going to... I think probably the only thing I'm going to have to practice is really just making sure I'm not getting off track. So, unsettling the car too much to that final chicane, as I reckon that's probably going to be quite the murder fest through there with the fact that people are going to get caught out by how much the car gets unsettled. But, yeah, I don't see why I would do too much more practice. I'm pretty comfortable with the car. I think I'd just be more of a sighting sort of thing and just making sure I'm aware of sort of where to brake, and probably if anything it'll just be qualifying practice.
I suppose that's the confidence that you are well in your rights to have, considering you are the only driver to win more than one round, and on top of that it's a grand total of 10 double digits. Congratulations on your performances tonight and also in those previous 10 victories. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to on the broadcast though before we let you get going, bud?
Yeah, obviously shout out to you and Chaz for obviously all the awesome work you guys do on the broadcast. Chaz for the awesome series, all the boys for the awesome racing, obviously, and all our partners from Orbit Motorsport and all the boys for the support.
No worries. Thank you very much, Cam. Go and celebrate now and have a good one, bud.
Yeah, will do. Cheers, guys.
There we go then. Cam Dance, race winner once again. The first driver to win 10 races and the only driver still to win more than one race in this championship. It's a pretty remarkable figure indeed. A remarkable figure indeed was the 8 places gained by Tim Perry in that race. Now, Tim has had a bit of a torrid start to the season, and I'm sure he'll not want us to go over that too much. So why don't we talk about the positives today, Tim? A great race from your perspective. 13th on the grid. Not the best qualifying, but still a fantastic drive through the field, and it was nice and tidy this time.
Grazie. Forza Ferrari, yeah?
You must be over the moon.
Yeah, we're back after that, yeah. Yeah, it was just horrible qualifying. I was just way too tentative. Just it was one of those things like lots of potential 1Xs. So you're a bit like, better back off a little bit here, a little bit there, and it all just adds up over the course of the lap. And it was just not good at all. But we've learned our lesson from that, and we'll be better next time.
Well, I was going to say, next time is going to be a real challenge because we're at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada, and that is one circuit that I know a lot of the drivers don't particularly like too much because of how much of a challenge it is. What do you make of going there? Is it a circuit you enjoy?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's actually one of my favourite tracks. I don't know what I think. It's like the long braking zones. Like it just seems to suit my driving style. So I've always gone really well there. So yeah, fingers crossed. I do need to get off the line a bit better. So I've got like a new dual clutch wheel, and I've been practicing my starts all week. I've nailed it to the exact percentage that I need to get off the line perfectly. And obviously in the start of this race, huge wheel spin. So yeah, I need to work on that a little bit.
I was going to say, it's one of the most difficult things about this car is getting it off the line quickly, and because it's so light and so sort of floaty everywhere, it's so easy to spin up the rears and overdo it. What's been your sort of takeaway from the first couple of rounds of the season then? Because obviously it's only 10 rounds long, this championship, and we've got, 3 of them down already. What's your sort of main takeaway going into Montreal? What are you thinking?
It's very small margins. I think, there's not much between like the top sort of like 10, 12 drivers really. So, a 10th here, 10th there pushes you right up the pack, and it can just make a massive difference. If you get a decent start and get up to the front, I think it's, anyone's game, really. I know Cam obviously keeps winning all the time, but I reckon a few other drivers could be in with a shot this time.
Yeah, it's certainly looking good. It's very spicy up there at the front, and there's a lot of people with a chance at it. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to, Tim, while we've got you on air?
Yeah, just massive thanks to you, mate, for putting on such a great series, and all the libraries, all the commentary, like all the admin. There's so much to it, and yeah, you've done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And absolutely love watching the broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. Very kind words indeed, and I really do appreciate it, mate. And well done on your result tonight. Solid points for Forza Ferrari, and we look forward to seeing you at Canada.
Grazie.
See you then, mate. Lovely stuff from Tim Perry then. A good laugh indeed. And to be fair, he's got all reason to be happy, Ed, because he's had a great night in comparison to his others, hasn't he? Flipping out.
Brilliant night. Absolutely wonderful stuff. And it's been, like I say, great to see Ferrari getting back into the swing of things, obviously from the terrible start to the season. Great for them to finally get something to smile and cheer and grazie ragazzi about.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's been a hell of a lot of fun once again here in the CDM Boremula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com. We have a great championship fight on our hands already. Cam Dance is only 1 point clear of Jake Cranstone after 3 race meetings, and we've got a number of drivers that are all up there ready to try and topple the pair of them. They're all waiting in the wings and ready to go. But that's unfortunately all we've got time for here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media. Thank you very much to all the drivers, all the competitors, and everyone involved in the championship. Thanks very much to my wonderful co-commentator Ed May, to our championship sponsor F1Countdown.com, to Abruzzi Racewear and Sim Racing Magazine, and also Gilles Gardner and Morgan Butler for their sim racing photography as well, which they provide for the series. Thank you very much as well to everybody for watching. We really hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you in a week's time at Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya in Canada. Have a good one.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're 3 wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition. And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been loved and a terrific show off.
Ben Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.